Hey guys, it's Manish from Fish and Feather here. Today we'll be doing a beginner's guide on keeping goldfish, as they are one of the most popular pets that we sell here. So we'll just be going through, kind of basic setup, tank sizing, feeding, just the basic care needed for your goldfish. Alright guys, so the first thing we need to think about is tank sizing and what size tank you want to get for your goldfish. Now that really depends on how many goldfish you want to get and also what size of goldfish you're looking at getting as well. Now the basic rule of thumb that we have here is 15 litres per small fantail, which will always increase as your goldfish get bigger or if you opt for bigger goldfish. So you just have to keep in mind that goldfish won't grow to the size of the tank. That is just a myth. They will actually continuously grow even in a smaller tank. So you just want to make sure that we get a big enough tank that they can live their life nice and happily in that tank. Alright guys, now that you've chosen your tank and you know what kind of tank size you want and how many goldfish you're going to put in that tank, what we need to do next is setting up that tank to get it, the best living conditions for the goldfish and what they need. So we'll just run through that with you.
Hey mate, I've just got a fish tank at home and I just want to get a couple goldfish.
No worries mate, that sounds good. Have you treated your water by any chance yet?
What do you mean by treat the water?
Come with me mate, I'll show you what I mean. Alrighty guys, so there's a 3-step process to condition or treat our water. Now, this may vary depending on where you live, but here in Melbourne, these are the 3 things that you will need to condition your water to make it safe for goldfish. Alright guys, so the first step in our 3-step process is using a dechlorinator. Now, the reason we want to use a dechlorinator is because we want to get rid of all the chlorine and the chloramines in our tap water. The reason why we don't want chlorine or chloramines in our fish tanks is because they actually attack the protective slime coating that fish have, and that makes them more prone to diseases and infections. Now, the only way you'll get away with not using a dechlorinator is if you have a rain tank at home and you use rainwater, just because our rainwater won't have any chlorine in it. So if you are using rainwater, then you don't have to use a dechlorinator, but if you are using tap water, then we highly recommend that you use a dechlorinator. Alrighty guys, so our second step in our 3-step process, as you can probably tell, is our GH conditioner, or as we know them as the blue salts. So the reason that we want to use blue salts is because Melbourne tap water is actually very soft. That's why it's so good to drink, but not really ideal for fish. That's because fish actually like dense water. So what the blue salts does is it actually makes the water more dense, and it will also actually add calcium and magnesium to the water as well, which is really good for your fish. Alrighty guys, so our third and final step is our KH. Now there is a lot of different types of KH, but the one that you'd be after for goldfish is either your standard KH or your KH7+. Now what the KH does is it actually maintains your pH at around 7.2 to 7.4, which is an ideal pH range for your goldfish. It does also actually feed your live plants if you do have any in your tank. And it will actually help feed your beneficial bacteria. Yep. The beneficial bacteria helps in breaking down ammonia and nitrites in the tank. Alright guys, so we do have a bit of a little bonus step, or a step 4 if you'd like, which would be a good bacteria concentrate. Now the reason that we recommend to add this as well is, like I mentioned before, this will actually help with promoting good growth of beneficial bacteria, which helps break down ammonia and nitrites. So we would definitely recommend this if you're starting like your first tank, just because it'll boost up that bacteria culture in your tank. Alright guys, so now that we've got all of our conditioners that we need to set up our tank, the next and probably the most important part is getting a filter for our tank. Now the reason that we need a filter in our tank, because it basically removes all the debris that would be in your fish tank that would be floating around, helps remove ammonia and nitrites, and it also aerates the water, so pretty much makes it so your fish can breathe. So there is a lot of types of filters and a lot of different sizes, so it can get a bit overwhelming on knowing what size filter that you need for your tank. The best way that you can figure out what size filter that you need is work out your literage of your tank, times that by 5, and that's how many liters an hour that you'd want your filter to do. Alright guys, now just because we have a filter doesn't mean that we don't have to do water changes anymore. So what we usually recommend is doing a 10 or 20% water change once a week. That will also help remove ammonia and nitrites and also get rid of excess waste. Now you never want to change your tank water completely. If you do, you'll get rid of all your beneficial bacteria that you built up, and then that will make it so your tank is more prone to getting ammonia and nitrites. All right, now on to feeding. Now there is two main types of goldfish food that you can feed your goldfish. The first type being obviously your flakes, and your second type being your pellets. Now we always get asked how much should I feed my goldfish and how often. We usually recommend once a day or once every second or third day, and the quantity is how much they eat within 30 seconds to a minute. If they don't finish all their food within a minute, then just cut back next time you're feeding them. Alright guys, so just another alternative onto the feeding that we recommend for goldfish is actually live plants. That's because goldfish are herbivores, so they will actually really enjoy eating live plants. Also, the benefit of having live plants in your tank is it adds more oxygen to your water, and it also actually absorbs excess nitrates that your fish will produce. Alright guys, now to finish it off, we're just going to debunk some goldfish myths. So the number one myth that we hear the most working in a pet store is that the fish will grow to the size of their tank. Especially with goldfish, people think that they'll only grow to the size of the tank that they're in. That is a myth. Goldfish will continuously grow. Even in a smaller tank, they will get quite big. So just make sure that you do remember that you will need to upgrade your tank down the track as they get bigger. Another thing that we hear a lot is that goldfish don't live long, or they don't have a long lifespan. That isn't true. Goldfish do live for about 20 to 25 years. So just keep that in mind when you are getting goldfish, that it is a long-term commitment. It's not a short-term commitment.
Geez, back in my day, we just kept goldfish in a bowl. What's so different now?
There is actually quite a few reasons, and I'll just name a few of them. One being it has a poor surface to air ratio, which means because of the shape of the bowl, you won't get good kind of aeration in a bowl, so the fish can't really breathe properly. Another thing being is it's really hard to put a filter in a bowl. Most of your filters are rectangular shaped, which they like to stick onto the side of a tank. With a bowl, that's really hard to do. Another thing is that they can't really regulate temperature really well, so the temperature will always fluctuate, which isn't ideal for goldfish because they do like their water a bit colder. And then one of the last things being, because of the shape of the bowl, it actually distorts the fish's view, which will stress them out in the long run, which is definitely not what you want. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. Thanks for listening in to our beginner's guide on keeping goldfish. If you do have any questions or queries, you can always give us a call or come on in store, and we'll be happy to help you out with any questions or queries that you have. We'll see you in the next video.